fellow lovers of the liminal and the weird, and welcome to another video by Liminal Spaces. Today I'm going to be talking about the next story we're doing in Ray Bradbury's Dark Carnival. Usually Jason does this, but Jason has got a new job and moved on from the channel, so I am taking over. This is kind of a writer that Jason and I both absolutely love, and I didn't want to leave this one hanging. I do plan on also finishing the Philip K. Dick book. I might as well do Isaac Asimov's I, Robot as well, so I'm probably going to take over all those, just do kind of one a week from each different story. But I definitely wanted to continue on Ray Bradbury, so I know you're usually expecting Jason to be sitting here, but it's going to be me from here on out. So the story that we are doing today is called The Coffin, and it was first published in Dime Mystery Magazine, September 1947, and it was called Wake for the Living, which I think is, in my opinion, a better title. I don't know why he changed it. It's more of a weird fiction title, and that's kind of what I wanted to talk about a little bit today. This is the story of two brothers, one that is a very successful inventor and the other one that's kind of a grifter and depends on his brother to support him. However, they really don't get along. They really don't like each other. I did have to giggle that as I take over my brother's reading of this book, the first story that I get is about two brothers that don't get along. Jason and I get along very well, so you won't have to worry about anything like this happening with us in the future. But yeah, I did have a laugh at the fact that it was warring brothers. That was the first story that I picked up in this book. And this inventor brother is inventing a incredible coffin because he knows he's going to be dying soon. And he does die, and the other brother decides to selfishly not bury his older brother in the coffin that he created, but keep it for himself and have his brother just buried in a pine box. And the twist is what happens to him when he goes up to explore the coffin. And that's all I'll say for now. I just wanted to talk really quick about Ray Bradbury in general. I know that for me, he's always straddled the line between science fiction and horror. When I watched Ray Bradbury theater. This, by the way, is a Ray Bradbury theater. It's been too long since I've seen it for me to talk about, but it is a Ray Bradbury theater if you want to watch this story. But when I first watched Ray Bradbury theater, I was expecting a lot more science fiction and found that really it was kind of a horror show. And I think that's because the horror titles were easier to film than the science fiction titles. The budget would be a lot less for horror titles because you could just film them in regular houses. You didn't need futuristic stuff all the time. And one of the things that I could never find by Ray Bradbury was his first book, Dark Carnival. And it never really bothered me a lot because I could get most of the stories elsewhere. But I have to admit there's something, and I've been reading along with Jason as he's been doing this. There's something very unique about this set because it's his first. We don't get the stories in a polished form, the ones that were polished later for October Country. We get them in their original form, and I think Ray Bradbury at this point, of course, was hungry as an artist. He wanted to succeed. And he started with what I can only describe as weird fiction. And I honestly never really thought of Ray Bradbury as weird fiction. I always thought of him as kind of horror literature or science fiction literature. But in this book, he is weird fiction. And I really like that. And this story is a perfect example of him writing, I think, in a way to titillate, scare, and also, I think, to sell stories to magazines, which he very much had to consider when he was first doing this, because he couldn't just say, hey, my name's Ray Bradbury, here's my story, and have it published, which he could do later. Back at this point, when he was writing, before his first book of short stories was released, he had to write stories that would sell to the audience that he was trying to sell to, and a lot of them are weird fiction, and it's really interesting because for me it's a totally different Ray Bradbury, and I really enjoy that. Spoilers for the story. Don't watch beyond this if you haven't read the story. It's a quick read, by the way. Really, probably 5-minute read. So the older brother that invented this coffin, he was obsessed with inventing this coffin. The younger brother, when the older brother dies after completing the coffin, the younger brother has him buried in a pine box because he's afraid that his older brother hid his fortune in the coffin. So he goes up and he decides, he pokes around the coffin for a while. It's mechanical. It has wheels of all weird things. And he decides he's going to lay down in this coffin. And he's smart. He goes out and tells, I think they had a gardener that worked for them, and he goes out, or at least the older brother did. He goes out and tells the gardener, hey, come up in like 15 minutes and check on me if I don't come down and talk to you again. And he goes in and he lays down in the coffin, and the lid closes and locks, and this sad music starts playing, and he's kind of laughing like, of course my brother would have this, ostentatious display of his genius in his death. But over the music, eventually the brother's voice comes out, and he starts talking about the younger brother, and he says, we're here for the funeral of, and he says the name of the younger brother, and the younger brother is like, what is going on? And what happens is he is sealed in this coffin. A needle goes into his arm and starts removing his blood. Another needle goes into his other arm and starts pumping, what do they call it? Formaldehyde. Is that what they call it? Formaldehyde? Anyway, starts pumping in what they put into a corpse's veins after somebody has passed away. I can't imagine what kind of death this would be. It must be strange for your blood to leave and for whatever they put into your veins to be pumped in. I don't know why I can't think of this word. Maybe it is formaldehyde. And so he's dying in the coffin as his blood is being taken out. The embalming process is happening to him while he's alive, and the coffin rolls out and these shovels come out and start digging into the ground. It's a coffin you just lay in, and it self-buries you. This is horrific, and it's not something I would think that Ray Bradbury would write about later. His horror became less shock and more kind of literary, is the only way I can describe it. I don't know. We can argue about that in the comments, but I also love this merging of science and horror, which I feel weird fiction tried to do often, and I like that. I really enjoyed that in this story. Yeah, I feel like this is a less poetic prose Bradbury, but a grittier Bradbury, and I really enjoy that difference. It's fun to read that. It's really wild to read Bradbury as a young man who is hungry for success and has a grit about him that will help him sell stories to magazines. Great story, absolutely worth a read. Quick story, really fast. So, okay, that's all I will say about that. The next story we will be reading in Ray Bradbury is Interim. If you'd like to stay caught up with me, that is the next one. Oh, no. Ooh, that is super short. That's a page and a half. Yeah, Interim is the next story we'll be doing if you want to stay up with me. And I think I will keep on this one for a little while before I jump back over to the Philip K. Dick that he was doing. So yeah, interim next week. I've started a Patreon. I am putting exclusive content over there. It's not going to change what I do here on YouTube. It will just add. So you'll get more videos if you're over on the Patreon than you will if you just watch on YouTube. If you'd like to support the channel, go over to Patreon. It's $5 a month and you get a lot of extra stuff. And it helps me continue to do this, which I love doing. So yeah, if you'd like to become a Patreon, head on over there. And thank you to the Patreons that I have so far. All right, thank you everybody for watching, and we will see you next time.